खिलाया था तो मुझे थोड़ा बहुत सा याद था। काम तो करती है ना ये चीज़, जो लोग नहीं खाते उसको बाद में कमर का कभी किसी को प्रॉब्लम्स होता है, हड्डियों का प्रॉब्लम्स होता है।
भगवान आते नहीं।
Food embodies the spirit of a civilization, a part of heritage, identity, evolution. We are in the Nawabi Lucknow, a city known for its unique blend of cultures. The harsh winter, time for spicy stuffed parathas and piping hot ginger tea.
अदरक एक्चुअली पड़ती है जाड़े में, इसमें डाली जाती है, थोड़ी अच्छी होती है। गुड़ जाड़े के लिए अच्छी होती है, जाड़े में खाई जाती है अदरक।
Flavor, food, season, health, all intimately intertwined. Traditionally, 6 flavors are known to us, each flavor related to an element of nature. Ginger's pungency likened to fire and air, hot, dry, and light. But why is ginger pungent? What is its chemistry? How does it interact with food and with our body? Ginger, like all spices, has a host of aromatic compounds, unique molecules synthesized by the plant. Some water soluble, others soluble in oil. The complex chemistry of ginger has the scientific community amazed.
Do you know how many components are present in ginger? Total number of compounds present in a simple ginger rhizome, which you are cutting in your spice cabinet, is 2000. Now, what all these 2000 components do is not really known.
Ordinary ginger, extraordinary complexity. 2000 bioactive compounds together responsible for its unique aroma, flavor, and medicinal properties. The main bioactive molecule in fresh ginger rhizome is gingerol. Gingerol, chemically very similar to capsaicin in chili and piperine in pepper. 3 different molecules that give the 3 pungent spices their unique properties. But ginger is special. Its chemistry intriguing. One rhizome, many tastes. Unique chemical reactions tweak its flavor. Reactions that happen in our home kitchens. When fresh ginger is cooked, gingerol changes into zingeron. Its taste sweeter, a sweet spiciness known to most. Gingerol is not found in fresh ginger. But ginger is also used in its dried form as sont. The dehydration transforms ginger into a twice as pungent molecule, chargol. The chemistry may be unknown to us, but the difference in the properties of the 3 forms known to most.
अदरक से भी होता है, सोंठ से भी होता है। जैसे सर्दी हो गया, सोंठ गर्म होता है, फिर उसको मतलब खौला के पीते हैं गरम गरम, थकान भी हो से जाता है।
Ginger, with its multiple flavors and dynamic chemistry, is used by us in many ways. Fresh, cooked, pickled, with honey or milk, the same spice with many uses and flavors.
अगर आपने जिंजर सिर्फ चबा लिया तो आपके मुंह में जो एंजाइम है उसके वजह से उसका एक्शन डिफरेंट रहता है. व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू टेक जिंजर एंड बॉईल इट विद द टी, देन यू आर गोइंग टू गेट सम डिफरेंट कंपाउंड. इफ यू आर गोइंग टू मिक्स अप जिंजर along with honey, So these are different kinds of chemicals which are coming together, and because of which you are getting the different actions.
Our kitchen, a virtual laboratory for ginger. Is that why we say, बंदर क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद? Anna Brahma, food is creator, says the logo of the National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad, an organization dedicated to research on nutrition and well-being through diet. The antimicrobial and antioxidant properties of ginger are literally under the microscope here.
Definitely it's surprised, madam. When we are doing antimicrobial activity, it was giving very good antimicrobial activity against foodborne pathogens. Those are highly contaminated. So definitely it gave a surprise when we did all this testing.
Humans probably learnt early that ginger made a meal safer by killing harmful bacteria, fungi and molds, safe from disease-causing microbes and also easy to digest. Food scientists are intrigued by how dynamic the action of ginger is on food as well as the human digestive system. It makes the proteins tender and easy to digest, and once eaten, it literally kickstarts the digestive system. The action begins right from the mouth. Ginger activates the salivary glands. More saliva, better digestion. Its interaction with the digestive system is at many levels. It enhances the activity of intestinal lipase, aiding the digestion of proteins. The most beneficial effect is, however, its impact on the gut transition time, the time taken by food to pass out of our system.
Ginger, of course, is probably the best spice that can shorten the food transit time by about 35%. But it doesn't mean that the nutrition absorption is compromised. What is actually shortened here is their colonic phase of transit time.
Ginger speeds the food through the large intestine, helping it exit the body faster. This is extremely beneficial for health. A clear system, less toxins, and a safeguard against colon cancer. In another controlled experiment, the National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad, tested the anti-mutagenic property of ginger. In simple words, its capacity to protect from cell damage and cancer.
Ginger was fed to rats for a period of 1 month. Later, they were exposed to a carcinogen, that is benzopyrene, which is an environmental pollutant.
Benzopyrene also induces cell mutation. The rats pre-fed with ginger showed less damage to their DNA on being exposed to the cancer-inducing agent. The rats that had been given ginger over a period of time remained healthy, protected from gene mutations and cancer. Ginger is showing immense promise. The pharmaceutical sector is excited. Could a new drug emerge from the humble spice? A word of caution, however, comes from scientists.
Anything excess is toxic. Even amrit, if you take more, it will be toxic. So just because spice is medicine, we should not end up in taking that quantity and end up in toxicity.
The recommended quantity of ginger to be consumed per day for beneficial effect has been worked out at 3 to 5 grams per day by the National Institute of Nutrition. Our ginger trail would be incomplete without a visit to God's own country. The countryside lush. With the monsoon round the bend, humidity in Kerala is at its peak. Kerala is the largest producer of ginger in the country, known not just for the quantity but also for quality and pungency. We drive to the field station of the Indian Institute of Spices Research. The world's largest repository of ginger germplasm is maintained here. Each cement pit has a different variety of ginger, nearly 700 accessions from the world over. Each variety is valuable. Each is planted every season, harvested, analyzed, and restored. This is a living gene bank. Each rhizome with its own set of genes, a different chemical signature, a different set of molecules.
Genetic resources are the assemblage of valuable genes of agricultural, medicinal, or industrial applications. The real value may not be realized today, but it may be realized by tomorrow.
Plants like ginger are living pharmacies, manufacturing molecules from which could emerge future medicine. They are our heritage, a link with the past, a promise for the future. So each time you eat a meal with ginger, acknowledge the great medicament that originated in the forests of our land. Do send us your reactions and feedback by email or post. Our address: Vigyan Prasar, A50, Institutional Area, Sector 62, Noida 201309. Our email: info@vigyanprasar.gov.in.
Invisible irritant, disease-spreading pest, destroyer of crops, or mere factories churning out products. Is that all insects are? Train your lenses on these creatures and you will find an astounding other world. A world where events unfold in a fraction of a second, where razor-sharp decisions are made in record time, where secret languages convey information without words, and superhuman mechanics reach unimaginable speeds. What happens in the unique world of insects? That's a question of science. $400 million years ago, nearly 350 million years before any vertebrate animal walked the earth, the first insects emerged onto dry land. Through the ravages of time and massive upheavals in climate and geology, they endured. But they didn't just survive, they thrived. Today, insects are the most populous on the planet, with more numbers of individuals and species than any other animal. Added together, their biomass outweighs all other animals on Earth combined. What makes insects one of nature's most successful life forms? That's the question being asked by scientist and insect enthusiast Sanjay Sane at Bangalore's National Centre for Biological Sciences.
I'm crazy about insects. I can't get enough of them. You know, these simple little creatures, you might think they are helpless, are actually extraordinarily smart.
So how exactly are insects smart in a way that's different from humans? Insects, specifically flying insects, were the first animals to fly in the natural world. This, along with their tiny sizes, gave them powers that bigger species just didn't have. For example, they could crawl into cramped, inaccessible spaces to seek out food and be safe from predators. But the biggest edge came from flight. Flight allowed them to reach areas that no one else could access. Flight also gave them a unique perspective, a high-speed, turbulent world that whizzes past so quickly that humans can barely see or sense it.
You and I are extremely slow and sluggish compared to a standard insect, a flying insect at the very least.
Just how slow are we compared to insects? To you and I, a standard light bulb in our homes appears quite stable in its beam. But here's how it looks to an insect. A regular light bulb flickers 50 to 60 times a second, a phenomenon so quick that it doesn't even register to the human eye. It's a whole other story for the insect. A typical flying insect will flap its wings 100 to 200 times a second. It can't afford to have human-like sluggish vision, and so it captures every flicker of the light bulb, along with every high-speed event that you and I wouldn't even notice. This begs the question, what sort of biological system allows insects to react and respond so quickly?
The system has to be something that senses very fast. It is able to process very fast, it is able to respond very fast. And in all these matters, insects are way ahead of us.
Flying insects like common houseflies have an intricate biology, one that is tailor-made for this high-speed world. Flies have wings to help them move aerodynamically through the air. They have a compound eye made up of thousands of individual units to detect split-second movements. They have muscular legs that give them lift for takeoffs and position them for perfect landings. There are antennae to detect any mechanical sensations like wind turbulence or vibrations. And they have unique organs called halteres, which act like stabilizing gyroscopes to ensure a balanced flight. All in all, a housefly that you and I try so hard to get rid of is a sophisticated system. It does everything a military or commercial aircraft can, but much, much faster.
They are fascinating animals. They flap about 200 to 250 times a second, so it's faster than an eye blink. Notice that its true legs are stretched because the fly knows it's going to land. It pitches up very slowly. Note how perfect this maneuver is. The fly is completely in control of it, and all of this is happening in a matter of literally 60 milliseconds. Now, how is a fly able to do this in such a short amount of time?
This is just one of the questions that Sanjay Sane's lab is experimenting to answer. Researchers here delve into the complex mechanisms that go into insect flight. They're asking, how do insects use their powers of vision or smell in flight? How do they use mechanosensory organs like antennae or halteres? Do these different types of sensory organs act independently, or do they collaborate? And how does an insect generate high-speed responses and make rapid-fire decisions? The lab looks at all these questions from every possible angle: sensory, muscular, neurological, and behavioral. One of the experiments revolves around honeybees and how they control their flights using eyes for vision and antennae for mechanosensory perception. The bee is immobilized and mounted on a rig. Then it is placed inside a black box which allows no light to enter. When the bee emerges from the dark, it is exposed to computer screens with running stripe patterns. The bee is now at the center of attention, with multiple high-speed cameras trained exclusively on it. They capture how the bee reacts to the visual stimuli of stripes. They also capture how this affects its antennae movement. This gives researchers invaluable insight into how vision and mechanosensory responses are connected.
The bee has to get information from two different channels, process them, integrate them, and then react to them. What makes it interesting is if these two information gives you conflicting information, which one do you react to? Do you process them, figure out, balance out something and then give it a net result, or do you rely on one more than the other? These are questions that we are looking at.
Not too far from here, another experiment gives the same question a different twist. This time, researchers are studying the relationship between an insect's vision and powers of smell. The housefly is given a serious challenge to locate its food source by following a tempting smell, all while navigating a visual landmark presented by a black sphere.
Have the fly, moving, and then the trace follows it.
If you put the landmark around the odor source, then only it causes fly to cast extra.
The experiment asks, what will the fly depend on more to control its flight? Vision, odor, or both?
This basic setup allows you to get into the mind of the insect. You can say, okay, so what was the insect trying to do? Is it tracking the visual object or the odor source?
In the experiment, an odor source, typically a food item like fruit juice, is positioned inside a wind tunnel. As a distraction, a black landmark is placed some distance away from it. The insect pursues the food odor, but then it encounters the black landmark.
So what is surprising is that fly is keeping track of landmarks, but the landmarks are actually making the search slower.
Researchers observe how this affects the fly's original search. They track it using high-speed cameras and collate the data digitally. In retracing the fly's flight path, a lot can be learnt.
Only OV 0 centimeter. So if you turn it like this, turn it the other way. So this search thing happens below this odor. Okay, but when then it goes in front of the object. We have quantified is that fly tend to search more before making that same decision of landing on the odor source. So the final outcome is same, but the approach before that is completely modified because of the surroundings.
These behavioral experiments show that insects are capable of making complex decisions extremely quickly. So the next logical inquiry is, how is this decision-making happening at a neural level? Researchers want to understand how insect neurons process two types of information, visual and mechanical, to ensure smooth flight control. Neurosurgery is tough enough in us humans. Imagine carrying out the same in small insects. The insect chosen for this operation is the oleander hawk moth. Its size enables scientists to reach into its ventral nerve cord and record its activity with an electrode.
I'll be recording from within one particular neuron using a very fine electrode and trying to see how these two informations are encoded by the neuron.
Such neurological tests are conducted to discover which neuron corresponds to which sensory perception, be it vision, mechanical stability, or motor control. The results once more reinforce just how intelligent insects are.
And do you find any neurons?
Yes, we found several neurons which respond just to mechanical stimulus, just to visual stimulus, and few which respond to both of them.
Mapping the nervous system of insects can give us precious clues into what enables insects to fly. For India, these types of inquiries have been long overdue. In the early days post-independence, a lot of attention was paid to entomology or insect studies as part of agricultural research. But for a nation grappling with food shortages, insects were only interesting as crop-destroying pests.
Unfortunately, these entomologists were taught how to kill insects, not how to study them. from the perspective of studying the other aspects of insect like flight or chemical ecology or all of these different things, there is unfortunately not much of a tradition.
Now, there's a fresh swarm of Indian entomologists dedicated to unearthing the fascinating world of insects. They're coming from disciplines like neuroscience, physiology, physics, and even aerospace engineering to understand how these complex creatures behave. From training insects to fly directly into lab setups, to breeding insects and operating high-end digital rigs. This group of scientists is venturing into a niche of the wild reserved only for insects.
The idea is to see how a female moth can track its host plant in wild, and that is the reason we are doing this experiment in a cage outside the lab, so that we can provide it a semi-environment. To a female moth, when it is in a forest, there are tons of plants around, and it is extremely difficult to identify its host plant and lay eggs only on the host plant. So this behavior is what we are very interested in.
Closely linked to flight behaviors of insects is one of the most fascinating questions in entomology. How do insects communicate? The answer is different for different insects. In 1973, Austrian scientist Karl von Frisch won the Nobel Prize for cracking the secret language of bees. He revealed that honeybees communicated using a dance called the waggle dance. This dance told other bees about the location of food. The speed of the waggle of the bee's posterior showed how far the food was. The axis or orientation of this waggle movement indicated which direction the food source was in relative to the sun.
But you might start thinking that there are problems here. Why? Because the sun is not in the same place all the time. So the bees need to be able to compensate for the fact that the sun moves in the sky, and they can.
But it's not just bees that have remarkable languages. Moths, crickets, cicadas, and other species have unique mating communication, from chemical to auditory. These are astonishingly accurate strategies, where a female can localize her mate in a crowd of males. Even ants have an extremely sophisticated communication system.
Ants will communicate to each other using chemical means. It will lay a chemical on the ground, and that chemical can have many different connotations. It may be a repulsive chemical, it could be an attractive chemical.
The world of insects is indeed very different from the one humans inhabit. But that doesn't mean we can't get along. Bugs like mosquitoes, flies, or cockroaches aren't just disease-spreading pests. And insects like bees aren't only valuable for the products they make. In fact, some cutting-edge technologists are finding a whole new reason for studying insects. Robotics, aerospace, chemistry, defense engineering. Hardly areas one would associate with buzzing, crawling, flying, or creeping insects. But new age engineers are swarming to study them in a bid to artificially replicate them. Imagine robotic bees that can reach inhospitable heights to carry out scientific research. Or cockroach-like machines that can crawl into tight spaces to detect oil, coal, or even unexploded landmines. Imagine sensors that mimic the sophisticated vision of insects, or rescue robots that can travel in harsh or disaster-hit terrains. But there's a bigger, or rather tinier reason why insect-like robots are ideal. Take the example of a mega science endeavor like Mars exploration. Conventional wisdom would suggest a single large robot that's packed with all kinds of sensors to collect different information and samples.
The problem with that is that a robot like that, if it goes out and fails, because these are all in inhospitable environments, you get nothing back for all the effort that you put in. A different paradigm of looking at it is to do it the way insects do it, which is you send hundreds of probes out or thousands of probes out, and even if half of them fail, you still get something back.
And so, engineers around the world are looking closely at the intricate biology of insects to build futuristic machines. The lab at NCBS is no different.
We are trying to understand how flies move about in the real world. So what we want to do is understand how motion of the wing relates to these body movements.
The fly is remarkably gifted in 3D choreography. It's a lesson in aerodynamic aerobics, with the ability to pitch up or tilt down, roll sideways, or display yawing movement. How do its wings execute these maneuvers in a split second? To find out, experimentalists build a maze through which a fly makes its way. In negotiating the maze, its wings and body work together seamlessly. Each of these moves is recorded by high-speed cameras.
We are trying to find out by filming them how they do what they do. We are not trying to mimic it, but we are trying to get close to it so that we can build vehicles called micro air vehicles, which are these small vehicles which can fly into confined spaces. All engineering that we do is indirectly learned from nature, because nature is our best teacher.
In studying insects, we return to nature and its astonishing secrets, like the mathematical dance by which bees talk to each other, or the chemical trails that ants leave behind to communicate with fellow ants, or the Zen-like praying mantis that exploits the imperfections of others to catch its prey. At any given time, there are a million dramas playing out in the insect world, ones that are as thrilling as anything we create in the human world. So the next time you encounter an insect, look closer. Don't blink, or you just might miss it. If you'd like to share your feedback on today's program, please send your suggestions and comments to Vigyan Prasar, C24 Qutub Institutional Area, New Delhi 110016, or you can mail us at info@vigyanprasar.gov.in.
Thousands of years ago, when the sun was believed to circle the earth. Long before Charak, Aryabhat, Sushruta, Newton, Hippocrates or Socrates, in the land of the monsoon, amidst lush forests, grew a tenacious plant. Not to be bullied by the tall trees of the evergreen forest, it sought the sun. Threw out determined little roots, climbed high. Its pungent aroma announced its presence, bold and enticing. It attracted humans, who then turned to plants for food, shelter, even healing and protection. Its fame spread across shores, across continents. This is the story of black pepper, the undisputed king of spices. What the fabled apple is to the world of science, pepper is to world history. Its impact on civilization huge. Wars have been fought, kingdoms overthrown, oceans braved, continents discovered, nations colonized, all for the sake of the black gold. The king of spices has an enticing story.
Black gold or black pepper, its influence in history, global history, is unparalleled. The flavor and the fragrance of this spice had a magic spell in human civilization and culture since very ancient days.
Western Ghats, running along the west coast, hotspot of amazing biodiversity, cradle of spices. Pepper grows here in abundance, its humidity and heat making it a perfect home for the pungent spice. On Pepper Trail, we are headed some 30 kilometers from Mangalore. Mudabidri is a small town steeped in culture and spices. On a cool, crisp winter night, Yakshagana artists don their costumes and makeup, transforming themselves into characters from the Puranas. The animated theatre form has kept mythology alive. These night-long performances, an unbroken ritual. As the night makes way for the morning, we reach a pepper farm. Green vines curled along coconut and areca trees. Woody vines soaring high, their tenacious roots clinging to the rough tree trunks. Large, shiny, leathery leaves. On these tall climbers grow clusters of beets, hard and green. Bunches of black pepper hang like grapes, unripe berries. Piper nigrum to botanists, black pepper belongs to the Piperaceae family of plants. The name pepper comes from a Sanskrit word, pippali, meaning berry. The Sanskrit root's natural because pepper originated in India. Its cultivation today confined to the 3 southern states of our country. This part of Karnataka is called Malenadu, the land of hills. It's a cool January morning. Life on this spice farm tuned to the rhythms of nature. Few berries on the pepper vine have turned red. A signal. It's time to harvest. Picking of berries is a task perfected over generations. With bags tied to their waists, the harvesters climb high. Each bunch is to be hand-picked. Only the bigger, bolder berries are plucked. The air itself, flavored with the tantalizing aroma of fresh pepper. A single stem bears 20 to 30 fruiting spikes. The berries need to be plucked before the fruit is fully mature and still hard. If allowed to ripen, it will lose pungency. Each vine produces nearly 100 kilograms of fresh pepper each year. Picking would spread over the next 3 months. As the workers take a well-deserved tea break, we cannot but turn back the pages of history. There was a time when pepper was so rare that it was worth its weight in gold. So rare that the world was besotted with its flavor and medicinal properties. Counted corn by corn as currency, it defined richness. Rents and dowries were paid with pepper. In France, just a pound of peppercorns could free a slave. Sailors had to have their pockets stitched lest they stole the valuable spice. Fierce warrior Attila the Hun captured Rome in the 5th century. He demanded 3,000 pounds of pepper as ransom. Such was its value and demand. In the age of exploration, Spanish monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand commanded Christopher Columbus to sail to the land of pepper. Columbus sailed westward, discovered America. Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama chose a different route. He crossed the west coast of Africa, round the Cape of Good Hope. By this time, half his crew was dead. Determined to succeed, Vasco da Gama reached Calicut in 1498. He had found India, the land of pepper.
The history of India would have been a different one had not Vasco da Gama landed. In fact, this is a singular event which sowed the seeds of colonialism in Asia and many other African countries during the subsequent 2 centuries that followed this event.
On the trail of the spice that led to our colonization. Time to discover how the red and green corns, the freshly picked mature berries, become the black spice as we know it. Berries from each bunch are separated, shades of red and green. Each bunch a twisted spiral, yielding 40 to 50 berries. Hands, feet, machine, each working in practiced symphony. The smooth-skinned green beads are moist and need to be dried. Tied in jute sacks, the berries are plunged into boiling water. Just a minute. Not more, not less.
So we dip it in the boiling water for 1 minute so that only the skin is killed, that green matter is killed. The kernel shouldn't get heated. So then spread it out in the yard for drying.
Blanching for a minute hastens the drying, makes the skin of the berry stick to the kernel. But not all pepper is blanched. Many cultivators prefer to directly dry it in the sun. White pepper is also made from these green corns. Left to ferment for a few days, the seed coat is removed. Washed 3 to 4 times, these are also sun-dried. Black or white. As they dry, the outer skins, the pericarp turns thick, now dark and pungent, wrinkled. From 100 kilograms of green berries, about 35 kilograms dry black pepper can be obtained. The spice with a personality, bold and interesting. In the kitchen, pepper adds a zing to many recipes. In this potato fry, center stage is pepper.
काली मिर्च ऐसा मसाला है कि जिसको न डालें तो वो मसाला अधूरा रहता है. ये हर मसालों की जान है काली मिर्च. इस आलू का श्रेय जाएगा सिर्फ काली मिर्च को जाएगा.
Pepper adds a distinct punch to many food items in Indian and international cuisine. Many recipes unimaginable without it.
उसका एक टेस्ट ही रहता है, वो मिर्ची जैसा है तो एक घाटपन आता है उसके अंदर, वही है.
Soups, salads, rasams, cutlets, both vegetarian and non-vegetarian dishes. In lentils and high-protein dishes, pepper occupies a distinct place. In the Indian garam masala mix, pepper is indispensable. Pepper, a spice immortalized in history. Black peppercorns were found stuffed in the nostrils of Ramesses II, used for mummification. Father of medicine, Hippocrates, he prescribed pepper for a host of ailments, ranging from colds and coughs to an antidote to poison. In Ayurveda, pepper or maricha occupies a place of honor, used liberally in a range of formulations.
आयुर्वेद में एक तरह से ऑमनीपोटेंट है मरीच. लगभग हर एक जो पॉली हर्बल और पॉली मिनरल कॉम्बिनेशन जो आयुर्वेद में डिस्क्राइब किया गया है उसमें मरीच को आप पाएंगे. मरीच को अगर निकालेंगे तो आप आयुर्वेद में कुछ ज़्यादा मेडिसिन नहीं पाएंगे. It is the spice of Ayurveda if you have to label it.
The spice of Ayurveda. Pepper is known to be hot and pungent. Its action swift and precise. One must remember, black pepper was the main pungent spice known to India till the advent of chili some 500 years ago. Traditional knowledge of spices thrives in homes and home kitchens. It's passed down generations. A mix of jaggery and pepper is Jamuna Tai's preferred mix.
तरी आमच्या इकडं म्हणजे दवाखाना नाही आहे. मग तो असा पोट दुखायला लागला, कोणाला काय झालं जरासा म्हणजे त्रास झाला, मग तो थोडासा गरम पाणी द्यावाचा. गरम पाणी दिल्याने त्याला ढेकर येतात. ढेकर आल्याने त्याचा काय असेल ते थोडासा बरा वाटते.
The goodness of taste coupled with better health. That's what spices do. Mixing spices together in precise ways, the skill of folk medicine and cooking. Urad dal or black gram is considered heavy, difficult to digest. Is that why traditionally urad papads always have black pepper in them?
चव पाहिजे ना, पापडाला चव पाहिजे ना, त्याच्यानं मसाला आम्ही ती टाकतो चवीला.
But it's never just taste. Pepper makes heavy proteins easy on the stomach, helping digestion. In biochemistry laboratories, the amazing chemical makeup of pepper is being analyzed. The pungent molecule of pepper, its principal compound is piperine. This molecule makes up 5 to 10% weight of all peppercorns. Piperine gives pepper its health properties, aroma and taste, making it the corn that calls out to us. Piperine is a light and highly volatile molecule. It rises in the air and tickles our nose. But why is piperine good for us? The answer lies in its amazing properties and action. Like all spices, it kills harmful germs effectively. A powerful antioxidant, it scavenges free radicals, reduces inflammation and clears disease pathways, promotes digestion by increased digestive juices. But what makes pepper truly special is its one specific action: bioavailability.
Mine was a very specific discovery on a small quantity of black pepper extract. Piperine has the unique ability to increase the gastric absorption of food items.
We are what we eat, an age-old saying. But would it not be more accurate to say, We are what we absorb. Here's how pepper works on our food and body. Our digestive tract is responsible for breakdown of food, absorption of nutrients, and removal of toxins. Scientists have discovered that when pepper is added to food, the nutrients become stable and available. They are retained in the body and not thrown out. What is even more interesting is the finding that piperine even enables medicines to work better.
I'll just give you an example. You think you have just taken 100 milligram, you have gotten the benefit of 100 milligram vitamin C. In reality, you probably would absorb 20 milligram. The remaining 80 milligram will go through the fecal matter.
In animal trials and controlled studies, new possibilities are emerging. Piperine added in precise quantities in modern drugs may help in making them more effective, more available, less toxic. The corn that had the world going in circles, pepper, is deeply embossed in colorful stories. One goes like this. During the height of the Portuguese trade, when shiploads of pepper sailed out from Calicut into the world, when India enjoyed complete monopoly over pepper, some greedy merchants started plundering pepper vines. The growers of black pepper ran in alarm to their king, the Zamorin of Calicut. The unruffled Zamorin said, "Let them. Can the Portuguese take with them that last monsoon rain? Can they take our soil?" The Zamorin was right. Without the monsoon and the soil of Kerala, there could be no pepper. The hot and humid Western Ghats, 250 rainy days in a year. Soil neither dry nor waterlogged. Pepper is a choosy plant. Its shallow roots seeking nutrition from the earth. Its climbing roots taking it upward. Its flowers appear in spikes, pollinated by raindrops or gravity. Some 9 months later, the berries appear. Their boldness and size dependent on the soil and weather.
ಮೆಣಸಿನ ಬೀಳು ಒಂದು ಜೀವ ಇರೋ ಪದಾರ್ಥ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್, ನಾವು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಸಾಕ್ದಂಗೆ ಸಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದು ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಾಗಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ.
Pepper, domesticated by humans nearly 6,500 years ago, chosen from its wild ancestor, its evolution guided by human selection. Pepper grows through cuttings. Over the years, cultivators have managed to perfect the technique to lead to bolder varieties and better yield.
ಇದು ಮೆಣಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮೊದಲು ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ರೂಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ.
This is how pepper begins its life on the nearly 1,20,000 hectares of land in India. Our yearly production about 65,000 tons. But all is not well. The tall medicinal plant with its shallow roots has not been able to protect itself from pathogens, disease, and pests. The scientific community has taken the problem head on. Pepper, one of the principal mandate crops of Indian Institute of Spices Research, a multidisciplinary team of scientists tackling the virus attacks, developing resistance, identifying the root-piercing nematodes, and suggesting measures against it.
So, what we are trying to do the research is at sustainable level. We have to live with the nature, we have to conserve our biodiversity, at the same time produce more.
From cutting-edge biotechnology to simple selection of cuttings, farmers and scientists are learning to choose and develop varieties suitable for climatic and soil conditions, better resistance to disease and pest, better yield and pungency. This research, aided by the living germplasm maintained at an IISR field station, one of the largest of this kind anywhere in the world. Wild varieties of pepper collected from forests are here. So are the cultivated varieties from all over the world. Each variety offering a different set of characters encoded in its genes.
Why it is needed? If we want a particular trait of importance, we look back into the germplasm collections. You can design your crop of the traits what you want.
Each plant promises an opportunity. One could offer better yield, another earlier fruiting, another disease resistance, and yet another a better root system. All these characteristics encoded in their genes. With careful selection and crossbreeding, scientists are able to design better hybrid varieties. A potted variety of pepper that fruits round the year has been successfully developed already. Bush pepper does not need to climb tall trees but grows in pots. It fruits through the year. Another one is column pepper, a variety that climbs not tall trunks but specially devised nutrient-filled columns. It fruits early and is easy to harvest. Pepper is our legacy, a rich, colorful past, a vibrant present, and a future that looks great. India exports nearly 12,000 tons of black pepper each year. The king of spices continues to rule the international spice trade with a 1/4 share. Pepper means something to each one of us. As a powerful home remedy, as a special zing to our food, the call of the corn, powerful and beckoning even today. Do send us your reactions and feedback by email or post. Our address: Vigyan Prasar, A50, Institutional Area, Sector 62, Noida 201309. Our email: info@vigyanprasar.gov.in.
Throughout known history, weather-related hazards or disasters, like cyclones, have been responsible for huge losses of lives and property. Hence, their prediction by the use of modern technology and human knowledge becomes imperative for saving human lives over this region. The understanding of these cyclones and their prediction becomes even more imperative for a country like India, whose coastal districts face the maximum consequences of this high-impact weather event. In the last 300 years, out of the total number of cyclones developing on the globe, almost 75% of them, which have caused a death toll of more than 5,000 people, have occurred in India, especially the Bay of Bengal. October 29, 1999, a super cyclone with wind speed of 260 km/h struck the Odisha coast, bringing unforeseen devastation upon the state. Killing almost 10,000 people and destroying property worth more than 1,000 crores.
on the monitoring aspects, well, we had satellites that only gave us imageries of the cyclones, but we did not have other parameters to characterize ocean conditions and the cyclone itself, both its physical as well as dynamic parameters.
The computing system was also limited, and the number of numerical weather prediction guidance to the forecaster were also limited. As a result, not only the lead period of the forecast was limited to 24 hours, but also the accuracy and consistency of the forecast was not quite good at that time.
The tragedy shook up the country and shifted the focus to IMD. It was beyond doubt that the outdated technology being used for cyclone prediction had proved to be the biggest hurdle in India's forecasting abilities. 14 years later, a similarly intense cyclone, Phylon, struck the Odisha coast again, this time near Gopalpur on 12th October 2013. However, this time the scenario had completely changed. The state authorities had received the most accurate early warning 5 days in advance, and they had taken the required action on time, restricting the death toll to just 21 people.
If you have to have a very effective system of humanitarian assistance, perhaps you not only give a state of preparedness to yourself, but also you need to be bolstered, you need to be helped by early warning system. And of late, our institutions have become very, very robust, they have become very scientific, and they have become very accurate and predictable. So that was the reason why we successfully conducted our operations in Cyclone Phylon. People have been alerted to get evacuated, people have been believing those signals and warnings.
Some agencies predicted the further intensification of to about 300 kilometers per hour wind speed at the time of landfall. It was creating panic among the public and also among the disaster managers. So therefore, there was a tremendous pressure on the forecasters either to change the forecast or to be consistent with the forecast given by them.
IMD persisted with their forecast, displaying confidence and nerve during a time of immense pressure, while other agencies showed different predictions.
Two screens from time to time I used to monitor the prediction given by IMD, as well as I used to monitor it through US Navy. Because I had still doubt because I myself was a collector, I knew how we suffered because of the super cyclone in '99. But at the end of the day, the IMD's prediction was much more accurate.
I can remember this US military or the US Navy sites. They predicted the wind speed will be around 280 plus. But IMD stuck to 220 to 230. So we got only that much speed only. So I hope we'll keep on relying on IMD sites only.
Not only had IMD saved thousands of lives, early warning system also helped in saving the government exchequer almost 500 crores.
I followed the international meteorologist Eric Holthaus, because he was also rigorous.